Our favourite time of the week to talk to our favourite person in the world, Megyn Kelly. There is so much happening. Thank you for giving us a bit of your time because, wow, 10 minutes after this conversation, something completely different will happen. But here we go again. I noticed on your show today you were pointing to very patchy public support for what is happening right now in Iran. We all know why. It's good to get rid of the Ayatollah. We all know why. They're an awful regime. But give us an idea about public support about the war now that it's on.
Well, its most partisan groups have retreated to their party lines. Republicans support the president and his efforts in Iran. Democrats don't. But the independents who are up for grabs are overwhelmingly against this. And even within the Republican Party, you know, you've got a hefty amount who say they're against it. It depends on the poll, but it could be any place from 30% around there. So the majority of every poll is against it. The only way you can get people to say, like, on a majority basis that they're even close to, like, maybe for it is if you say, are you in support of a military action to take out Iran's nuclear program? And, you know, by the way, we did that in June. So, like, okay. But yeah, people, they don't understand the war. Like, the polling also shows no one has any idea what we're doing. Like, they specifically went through and asked, do you think it's for regime change? Yeah, like 12%, yes. Do you think it's to take out the nuke program? 13%, yes. Do you think it's because Iran was going to launch terrorist attacks? 10%, yes. Nothing got more than like 13 or 14% at the most. And multiple answers, 7 or 8 or 9, were on there with at least 7, 8 or 9% in terms of support. So nobody knows what we're doing there, Paul. And that's because the administration has given us about 10,000 different explanations from the morning Trump spoke about this on Saturday to the afternoon that day, and then again yesterday, and then Marco Rubio yesterday, and then Marco trying to do cleanup in aisle 7 today. Now they're trying to shame the media after saying that this is a media messaging problem. No, it's not. It's the administration messaging problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, there are a lot of people that were paying attention to JD Vance and the fact that for the first couple of days he was relatively quiet. He has come out and since done interviews where, unsurprisingly, he's backing everything that the administration is doing. Again, as somebody trying to work out, obviously the president is the one making the decisions, but who is the one who is informing those decisions? Who are you looking to for who has the presidency at the moment that is either reaffirming his choices or spurning him on?
Well, that would be our secret president, Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, there's no one influencing Trump more right now than Netanyahu. That's just the case. Within the administration, look, I think they're all supporting him. The reports are that he had an all-hands-on-deck meeting mid-January. Vance was there. Rubio was there. Dan Raisin-Kane, our chairman of the Joint Chiefs, was there. And they had a long heart-to-heart about what we should do. And that JD Vance was against strikes, but said, if you're going to do them, this is how I think you should do them, like going strong and sweeping, as opposed to like an incremental approach, which I guess Trump had originally been leaning towards something smaller and more pinpoint. And it looks like JD got his way, and now we're in it. And it's like I don't know. It's going to be very hard over the coming days to watch the casualty reports come in. We've already lost 6 U.S. military service personnel. And it's a tragedy because their parents, I'm sure, were extremely proud of them when they signed up. I'm sure they love America and they did it because they love their country. And I'll bet they always thought that, God forbid, they had to pay the ultimate sacrifice. It would be for a war in which they were clearly fighting for America's interests. And we remain to figure out exactly how that was the case here. I mean, I said on Monday, I definitely see how this is in Iran's interest, like the interest of the people of Iran. Though it's a little precarious because we don't know who the Ayatollah is going to get replaced by. Right now, it looks like his son, who might be even more hardline than the father. I definitely see how it's good for Israel. This is Netanyahu's dream. I'm not sure how it's good for America. I mean, Iran's terrible. We know that, the leadership. They've hated America, and they've definitely attacked U.S. troops, hundreds of them, over 600 of them in Iraq alone. Never mind what's happened on the high seas with the Houthis. But we have done retaliatory actions in response to those behaviors. We have imposed sanctions on Iran. We've done strikes on some of their outposts. and their, third parties that they use, and to pretend that none of that has been addressed now, and that it's all comes down to this one big act of revenge where we take over their country, we take out all their leadership, we impose regime change, we impose democracy. No one's used that word, in fairness to the administration. We get boots on the ground for months or who knows how long. It's just that doesn't make sense. And Trump knew it wouldn't make sense. And that's why when he first came out and sold this, he said imminent threat. And then it promptly hit every paper from people who are in the know that there was no imminent threat. And in fact, that was made specifically clear that there would not be an imminent threat that Iran could pose to the United States of any kind, and that the only threat we might face from them would probably take about 10 years for them to either reconstruct their nukes or get some sort of a meaningful intercontinental ballistic missile that could reach here. But we were nowhere near there. And I understand the argument, why wait for it to be imminent? Okay, you can't just go around preemptively bombing any country that doesn't like you and has like the desire to make a bomb that could take you out. Like we have to bomb North Korea next because they actually have the bomb and they hate us. Let's bomb the Chinese because they actually could engage with us militarily. And it's just like, this is not a foreign policy that makes sense. And it's not one Trump ran on. And it is in many ways a betrayal of his campaign promises, what he sold himself as, and of his MAGA base.
So how do you deal with the inevitable criticism that comes? I know there's sort of the hyperbolic people that we're not even going to engage with, right, who want to pretend this is about something else. Reality is, one of the reasons people like you is because you're an independent voice. And yes, that means at times there's going to be displeasure from the president. Again, we don't want to go back to where things were years ago when it was particularly tough. But, part of the game is you've got to tell the truth as you see it. And this is the truth as you see it.
Well, Trump wasn't happy with my opposition to what he's doing in Iran. And he made some rather mild remarks about me. I have to say, I kind of thought it was, in a way, sweet for Trump. Like, he was asked by a reporter, what do you say to Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, who have said the following things about the war? And in neither case were we harshly critical about President Trump. We disagree with his policy. We got a lot of questions, having been at Fox for most of those years defending the other Middle East wars. And his pushback, I thought, was equally mild. He stood up for himself. He said, like, they can't hurt me. Her opinion doesn't matter because she's been opposed to me in the past and I still won. Fair point. And then he said, she's not MAGA. And he said, Tucker's not MAGA. He's right. I'm not MAGA. Like, that is a very fair response. Nor have I ever purported to be. The most I've ever said I am is MAGA adjacent, and that I'm fluent in MAGA. But I am a reporter at heart. I'm a journalist first. And I'm not part of a movement. So while I can understand it and my sympathies can lie there, which they do, I would never say I'm like part of some political movement. That's just not who I am. And I do need some arm's length in order to be able to do my real day job, which is to be a journalist.
Yeah, exactly. They've got their own spokespeople. That's not our job to be that. It is, again, their loyalty is to the people that are watching us right now at the end of the day. You had a really interesting guest on today, the guy who actually started Blackwater, that was involved in all the dark arts in and around those previous two wars in the Middle East. He is voicing some concern about how long that potentially America is able to withstand what is coming from Iran.
But now to think we're going to wade into Iran, into the IRGC's hometowns, and say we're going to impose regime change and consider U.S. troops, please, that is a bad idea. If people are so hell-bent to do it, fine, let them go volunteer. They can train the Iranian people, carve out some part of Iran that they conquer and free, and build from there. But it does not have to be done by our active duty forces, period. Putting ground troops or extending this war longer is the wrong course of action.
What did you think of that insight?
So he had two major points. Number one, in no circumstances should we do boots on the ground. There should be no ground troops in Iran, none that are American. And he knows of what he speaks. I mean, that's the guy they called in for the dark arts in Afghanistan and Iraq when things got really ugly and we needed somebody to help us out. So he knows how bad it can get, and he knows how impossible it can get. He understands quagmire intimately. So he's saying absolutely no boots on the ground. Like he said, Iran is 10 times the size of Iraq and is going to be 10 times the problem. especially if we try to make this into some ground war thing and we don't just do an aerial campaign. He thinks Trump should declare victory right now. The Ayatollah's gone. We took out another 39 beyond him. You're welcome. Goodbye. And I agree. Let's do that. Let's just do the Trumpian, like, you know how we pretended we had a big victory in Greenland. Yes, I like it. Let's do it. Okay, we got the new outpost, and now we can do things we couldn't do before. Okay, I think we talked about how that wasn't real, but it's fine. It stopped Greenland from being on the front page, which was an unnecessary distraction to like inflation and mortgage prices. And we should definitely, when you're talking about the lives of American service personnel, do the same here. Yay, you're welcome. Ayatollah's bad. He tried to kill me, allegedly, and I got him first. I could sell that if I were Trump. Sure. I think even Trump's detractors right now would be relieved to hear him go that route. And I think it's still remotely possible, though it's not likely. But that was his number one. And his number two, Eric Prince, founder of Blackwater, was we are running out of interceptors. And what an interceptor is when they fire these missiles at us, at our bases, at our friends, like the Saudis, or just, our military bases, which are all throughout the Gulf, and at Israel for that matter, you can stop them from hitting you with interceptors. But they're extremely expensive to build. They're between like over $12 million for one. And they have a countless number of missiles from the look of it. They've been stockpiling with the help reportedly of the Russians and possibly the Chinese too over the past couple of years. So while they don't have nukes, they do have tons of missiles. And we have had reports from multiple bases now in the region and from countries worried about themselves, not just American bases like Qatar, like Dubai, the UAE, that they are running out, that they only have enough to get them through like 4 days, and then they're not going to have any. And Trump was talking about how, we've got plenty that are sort of medium level, like in terms of what they can stop, but we're kind of missing the ones that are high level, thanks to Joe Biden giving them all to Ukraine. And he's suggesting we can raid our outposts for the high level ones, the best ones. Well, not if it's if the entire Gulf is demanding them of us, not if all of our outposts in the Gulf need them. We can't raid them. And who are we going to raid exactly? Like, what if the Chinese choose like next month to invade Taiwan, which Eric Prince was pointing out is a country we might actually want to defend, given that it makes all of our computer chips, and we haven't yet found a way of like backstopping that. So we might not want to give away all of our interceptors in a war that was totally unnecessary. So he's very worried that we don't have enough interceptors for ourselves or our friends, and that's going to become readily apparent very soon. Because if we don't have them, the missiles will hit and the casualty rates will go up exponentially.
Well, let alone, my particular obsession in all of this is the drones and their endless ability of how cheap they are, how hard they are to intercept. And obviously they're not sending, one, it's not sort of a 1-for-1 missile situation. It can be a 10-to-1, it can be 100-to-1. And that's where things get even more frightening. So look, my hope is that there is an in and out here, that it's not 4 weeks, that it is in and out. And then, okay, what Israel wants to do, that's their business. I hope that's where this lands, but we'll all find out together. Megyn, we love you, mate. We look forward to listening to you and watching you, of course, via your YouTube channel.
Thanks for having me, Paul. See you soon.